So hello, this is Cheryl Wilson and welcome back to my videos and my channel. If you're new here, thank you for coming and checking me out. I'm doing some abstract paintings today. And if you're returning, thank you so much for being a part of my journey with me. As you can see, this is a painting that I created this past week, and I wanted something a little bit unusual. So I created some handmade papers, and it's using a paper that I've used before. I got the idea from one of you all, and it creates incredible, beautiful handmade papers that you can put in your art. So I wanted to show you a larger painting. I'm going to do a smaller one for you today, but I'm going to take you through the whole process of what I use, how I did the papers, and how I embedded them into a painting. But I wanted to give you a chance to see what the painting could look like with these papers. I have what I think is a real fun video. I made some papers the other day, and I wanted some more handmade papers because I started to run a little bit low. And so I dug out my exam paper. It's like tissue paper, but it is a little bit maybe thicker. It works a little bit different. It's really great. It really blends in to your paintings if you don't put a lot of color on it, but putting a lot of color on it blends in just as well. One of the viewers of the channel, Kathy, thank you so much for telling me about that. In fact, she actually gave me a roll of the paper to try, and I've really enjoyed it. And so I thought when I was doing this painting, and I'm going to show you the painting now, that I wanted something in the painting that kind of stood out, because I love when I make handmade papers. And look at the big sheet here. It's to me, it's just absolutely beautiful. So what I used in here, and here's several, and of course I've had these sitting out. They're pretty on both sides. I think one side, you know, may have more, like if you put the gold or the copper, may show up a little bit more than the other, but even the opposite side with the dullness is nice. So let me show you how I do this. First of all, the supplies I used, just a smattering of brushes, and then whatever inks you have. I'm getting low on these inks, so I wanted to use them up. You know, they don't even, I have to put a brush down in the bottom now because they're getting so low on what's in the jars. And then even some high flow that I've used. So that was instrumental. So I'm going to add some of those. So I took the paper, the medical tissue, medical exam paper, I think it's called, and you can use either side, and I just laid them out, and I'm gonna, since they curl up, I cut different sizes. You can do one great big one like I did and then cut them up, or have them smaller like this. So let's just get started here and see what we can create. All right, the first thing I might want to do is spray, well, also, this is a piece of like wax paper, It comes in a large, it's like deli paper, but it comes in a large roll, but you can use just wax paper to put these on because they're going to stick. But also keep lifting them periodically so that they don't stick down to the paper. So I'm going to spray a couple of these. I may start with some black. If you have your color palette in mind of what you want to do, that's great. If you don't, I'm just going to kind of do these with the same colors I have. Then you can play and make a whole bunch of these papers, or if you have in mind what color palette you want, then it's will dictate which of the high flows and which of the acrylic inks that you're going to use. So I did some black. Oh, I hate these lids. Okay, so these I'm just actually adding in a lot of, well, I need to fix that brush. Adding in here, I'm going to smear some of this, get some grays in there. This will be one I'll need to be really careful about so it doesn't stick to the paper. Another great thing is, even when you lift these up, you can have a supply of extra of these squares of paper, because dipping them back in what sinks down below is also beautiful. So I'm going to grab some of this. This is transparent raw umber. You can either dip your brush down in or accidentally dump it out. Remember, this one doesn't have any water on it. So there's some of the brown. Here's some of the copper. This has got kind of a shimmer. This is iridescent copper. This is almost gone. So what I'm going to do with this one is use a brush and get my brush wet. And I'm going to basically cover the whole tissue. You don't have to. Depends on what it is that you're looking for. Some of these where I've done the water, I'm going to keep adding. This has got some, this is the yellow, Indian yellow. Again, it's almost at the bottom, so let me grab a brush. I think that looks really pretty with the other colors that I have in here. So again, this is the Indian yellow, if you want to follow the same colors I'm using. So let me go ahead and fill in some of the blanks here. Okay. Then I added this pretty much just like mixed down in this yellow. But there was enough of some of the difference that with the blending. It's blending as I'm putting it on the paper. And again, when this dries, you're going to watch it so that it doesn't stick to the paper underneath. But always do it on a paper underneath that is got like a wax on it so that you can pull it up. All right, let's see. If you're like me, you need to put your lids back on because you can spill them. Now, I have a Black Magic, and then I have a Carbon Black acrylic ink. I use the Hypho Black, but let me use some of this too. Alright, so now we're down to, we've pretty much filled the paper up. Let's go in. This is a thicker brush. Spread some of this out. Of course, this is going to blend. You can leave it. It's totally up to you. And to top it off on this one, I'm going to sprinkle in some gold. The gold, to me, is heavier. So it kind of sits on top. I don't want it to look like I just like smushed it down. I mean, sprinkled it on, but I did. These would look nice as like, you know, a full piece of paper painting. If I want to have a little bit more contrast, and a couple of these. You could wait till they're dry and add. You could write into it. All right, so we're going to let these dry. Again, be careful. Periodically, come in and pick them up. Make sure they're not sticking. At this point, you could go in and add. In fact, let me grab. I'm just going to rip some paper off. There's some loose pieces here. So if I were to move these up a little bit, I could make use of all this beautiful paint. So you're getting like a nice dual print here. This has got some luscious colors to it. So let's dab. There. Okay. So you get the idea. You've got a lot of fun. Grab some of that there. So let's let this dry. Again, periodically pull them up as they're drying so that they don't get stuck to your paper. So when I was preparing this canvas to do the next step, I thought I maybe would show you. Basically what I did was, this was an older canvas that had a painting on it I didn't like. I just took white titanium white acrylic and painted the whole thing. I pulled a color that I had basically had in the little pieces of tissue paper, and I just painted this corner down here. And then I took the blue shop towel and I just ran it down over the paint. That pulls up some of the layer and it gives some marks of the painting below. You can have any painting. You could have a blank canvas. So at this point, this is the underpainting. So I can have any marks in here that I want. Let's just say, and when you write in the wet paint, it makes a beautiful marking. I just want to add some marks. I always do some marks and then take some away. So some of this is going to get covered up with the papers. This is the older papers I created. Some of these papers are going to get covered up. But while the other ones are drying, I just wanted to get this canvas basically ready and let it dry and put some marks down in here. And that helps smear some of the graphite down in there. So I mean, I'm liking it just like this. I just wanted to show you. The big thing about when I put wet paint on is when I do the shop towel. In one of my next videos, I wanted to do a whole video of some of the most impactful things that I do in my abstracts that help make them, in my opinion, my dynamic type of a painting. So while this is drying and the little sheets are drying, I wanted to show you the actual painting that I'm going to put these on. This is small, and mainly it's because my size to show you is small. But if this were like a very large canvas, it'd be the same thing, only at a larger scale, doing some of the same things here. So let this dry and we'll move on to the next step. I wanted to bring my papers back down, and this is like the third time I've picked these up. I don't want them to stick. They're drying really well. But you want to keep pulling them up so that they don't dry, get stuck. Okay. So here are the dried pieces of medical paper. And here's the back side. Like I said, the front side, that gold and a lot of times the copper, but mainly the gold, is heavier. So it basically sits on the top and does this beautiful shimmer. But they're all different sizes. And then here's that piece, that extra piece that I still think is beautiful. In fact, something like this, you could still further play with and do fun things. You could take, here's a white gel pen. You could write on it. And, you know, the gel pen is a very fine tip. Let me find here is a Stabilo, which is a bigger, thicker, like a crayon Stabilo. So you can, you know, this is taking us a little bit off of where we're at here, but there you have some different things that you can do. if it turns out to be a piece that is, you know, not a lot of color on it, I love adding the white to it. So let's bring down our painting. And again, this is, to me, you know, it's a pretty painting. So I'm going to bring the papers down. I'm even going to bring some of the others from the other batch I made. And I'm just going to look. This is what I made. There is a big piece there. You could, you know, cover your painting with, you know, depending on what your theme is of the painting that you're doing. You could almost cover the whole thing. I mean, that's, to me, that's really pretty. You could just use one piece, put that in. You could even put that in. I think that looks beautiful right there. That unusual piece there. And basically call the piece done. This is my preference. This is where you, as your artist, your marks, you're going to start, I really like that, you're going to start to add in what it is that you like as an artist. I'm going to, some of these are ripped up. If you want to just be very simple. In fact, I like that too, very simplistic. Just adding in a couple pieces there. Very simple. Then if you wanted these rip really nice, add a little bit there at the top. And you can also add, go in with any of your inks, any of your additional paint, and add to this. So let's just play a little bit here. I like this. So I have two that I like. I like with just that in there. I like with the very simple two pieces in there. I'm going to save that. If you wanted to have unusual ripped up pieces, you have marching across the canvas, I would always have them in an odd number. That looks nice. Just three simple. And then what makes this beautiful is, about now, some ideas for the names of this painting could be coming to the forefront, where you would be naming this based off the three pieces there, you know, or, you know, call it, you know, interesting moments in my mind, or something like that, where you're using your inspiration of what you're creating for your title, and then jot it down. And you know, that might be interesting. Here's 5 pieces. That's nice too. I like that. I like the 3 so far that we've come up with. This is very nice. What if we turned it around? Even moving these down into the white space where the darker's on the top. I like it the other way a little bit better. What if we wanted to make this into maybe a type of a landscape, where you're putting these, you don't want them right in the middle. I've done that, and I've made it work, but it's better for the eye to have it down here at a third, or up here at a third. So let's say we were to make this into a landscape. You could have have even something like that where it's a little uneven. And there you have a beautiful landscape. I would maybe rip that white off. This could definitely go like that, but I'm liking it being a little bit off. But that would make a beautiful landscape, either up there or even down here. Then of course you can go in and add other things to it. So that's nice. Let's see. You could do, this is where all the gold is. You could, you know, bring it down and have a very muted, the muted side. Even just one piece on there is beautiful. And then, you know, bringing in additional marks as you create. So, as you can tell, you can make this into anything that you want it to be. It's your choice. You as the artist, you're the creator. I would suggest you not worry about what anybody else, you're not creating this for anyone else. The more that you can create for you and what it is that you like, the better your pieces will be, because they'll be really your true voice and authentically you. So, believe it or not, out of all those, I like this the best for me. And so I'm going to put that down. I'm using a matte medium as my glue. I have two of them here and one of them, there, I got one of them opened. Again, this is totally your decision. I can hear some of you out there saying, I don't like that one. You're artist. And see how nice it lies down. A little bit more down here. You can leave a crinkle in there if you want. You can get all the crinkles out. I'm leaving a little bit of the black at the top. I'm going to let that dry. I don't know at what else. Even while that's wet, I'm bringing the white through the painting. So let's let this dry and we'll revisit the piece that I finished in just a few minutes. Okay, it's now been about an hour and I think I wanted to add another. I like this little gold piece. I think I'm going to go ahead and just add one more element here. Okay, so the simplicity of this is fine for me, but let's go ahead for the sake of adding marks. I'm going to use some marks. I always use a stencil like this. I use a little bit of spray in there. Remember, this is water-based. I don't like it to be as uniform. So let's go in and kind of map some of those out. I want this to come down a little bit, maybe. Yeah, I like that. Okay. Maybe have something over here. Let's see. What other stencils do I have? I have this one with the holes in it that might be just enough to bring it to the edge. Okay. Maybe something over here. I'm going to bring in, I'm going to get my rigger brush. Okay, I'm going to get some high flow here. Let me see if I can pour this out. And then okay, to me that's just enough on the painting. I'm gonna let this dry. To me it's a fun painting. I always say that I'm done, but even if you wanted, I just don't want to do too much. Just a tad more copper there. All right, I'm done.